Hey there, Internet. Welcome to the Hard On Gear channel, where I discuss and review my used and abused knives and gear. Back after a long hiatus of normal knife stuff. Today I have the Benchmade SOCP folder. SOCP, or SOCP, being Special Operations Combatives Program, run by Greg Thompson, which is actually the US military's combatives program. This knife was designed as a complement to the fixed blade, which I have done a video on. I borrowed that knife from somebody else to do that video, but feel free to check that out if you're more interested in the fixed blade version, and I talk a little bit more about the origins of the design and why it is the way it is. A buddy of mine that I was working with this summer picked this guy up, and this is the longest folding knife in Benchmade's line currently. Kind of a moderate length compared to a lot of cold steels. This thing's actually almost about the size of a Luzon, I bet you. Medium Luzon's probably, just a little bit smaller even. The large Luzon would be quite a bit bigger than this. But yeah, here's the SOCP, which is very, very long, very dagger looking in its blade design, although it is only single edged. You can pick one of these guys up in the US for around $220 on most of the big popular sites, Blade HQ, River's Edge Cutlery, that kind of thing. And on Tetragon it came up as $279.99 if you're looking for Canadian dollars. Tetragon's a pretty good spot if you're looking for tactical folders, fixed blades, that kind of thing within Canada. Sometimes that stuff's hard to source. Yeah, so $220 US, $280 Canadian. Benchmade butterfly tax in full effect. Although, like every Benchmade I've handled so far, you're getting pretty much what you paid for. Maybe not so much in the blade materials and the overall materials. If you're looking at a dollar value compared to Spyderco or Cold Steel, a dollar for dollar value, D2 steel with like a GRN type of a handle for $280. But the design, the axis lock, Benchmade's run very smooth. They're very fun to play with, and they do feel like quality. Overall length of this guy is just over 10 inches, coming in at 10.13, 4.47 inches of blade with a 5.66 inch blade handle that should add up to about, 10.13. 4.1 ounces in total weight, so it's not a super light knife, but it's not quite as heavy as like a full-sized, I'll use like a Cold Steel 8015 or an SR1 light as a reference. Yeah, there's the 8015, super chunky monkey, very hefty, quite a bit heavier by 2 or 3 ounces. So definitely not as bad as you can get, and especially for the length of blade that you're getting with the SOCP folder, you're definitely getting quite a bit for that 4.1 ounces. And it's super thin, super slick into the pocket, so the weight's distributed quite nicely. It doesn't feel like you're carrying a lot of weight. Oh, and hey there, viewers of the Hog channel. If you wouldn't mind, if you're enjoying this content, go ahead and click the like button, as it helps the channel out and gets this video out to more knife enthusiasts. Yeah, so as I mentioned, D2 steel, which is kind of on the lower end as far as premium folding knife steel. Most people who've used D2 don't have much of an issue with it. Of course, if you're going to pay almost $300 or over $200 for a knife, you may expect something a little bit better, but Benchmade does tend to have a little bit of an extra cost. But that's Benchmade for you, and again, this is a very purpose-built special operations combatives program design knife. Maybe not something that everybody needs in their EDC, and there are better choices if you're looking for better blade steels, things like that. But if this knife does check all the boxes for you and this is what you're looking for, you're just gonna have to deal with, I guess, the fact that D2 is not, I mean, you can get D2 on $40 knives. I have $40, $50, $60 knives that all have D2 steel. So maybe that's my one big not complaint, but question at the beginning here is maybe we could have put something a little more premium for that price tag. That being said, if this was a S30V or S35VN crew wear, God knows what they'd charge for it. So maybe it's fine just the way it is. Black Cerakote blade coating on the knife. You can see the SOCP stamp there with the benchmade.com/patent. I guess don't mess around with this if you're looking to replicate it. These should be made, I do believe, in the Oregon factory. For a Benchmade's main production facility, so that's another nice thing, and also one of the reasons why you're paying premium prices for non-premium materials. But I think it's kind of worth it, voting with your dollars and all that. So yeah, go guy who bought this knife, as well as I think all the other 3 or 4 knives I've got from this same fellow. They're all USA made, I do believe. So yeah, nice to get some Canadian made stuff in here, but our manufacturing is kind of crap compared to the States, so what do you do? So I didn't look at the pivots when I was checking out the specs, but yeah, we got two phosphor bronze washers on the inside, if you can make that out. So the liners, if you can make them out, are colored the same as this, what's it called? CF Elite is what Benchmade's calling this material. It's essentially like a carbon fiber type GRN like a glass or fiberglass reinforced nylon. They just have like little strands of carbon fiber supposedly to help make it lighter and stronger. At least that's what the marketing's trying to tell me. It just feels like another FRN, GRN polymer type thing, but yeah, it's nice, no issues there. But inside you do have these fairly well milled out stainless steel liners that are adding a little bit of rigidity, well, quite a bit of rigidity and strength to what would otherwise be a pretty flimsy handle scale. So that's nice. And then it comes right down to this beautiful little glass breaker they have on the back of here. Very small, very subtle, but it is there in case you ever did need it for a little force multiplication. And then you come around the back and you can see the back spacer here is fairly thick. Looks like it's a separate piece altogether actually from those stainless steel liners on the inside. The axis lock, the nice thing is it's very easy to show how it works. There's the blade tang, here's the bar or the axis, pull that back, and then you have that notch which clicks into place, securing your blade fairly well. This is one of the better made locks out there for folding knives, patented by the Benchmade company years ago, and it's ambidextrous. This whole knife actually is ambidextrous, which is super nice. Pocket clip is 4-way. This is the second pocket clip, or I guess maybe the main one that it comes with. You've got 2 options. I'll pop the other one up on the screen now, which is just more of a traditional deep carry clip. This one with the ring is basically made to make it a reliable draw. So when you go to pick this out of your pocket, almost like the Spyderco hole. Where's my Spyderco at? There we go. We got a PM2 on us here. The Spyderco thumb hole is reliable for deployment just because your thumb tends to grab somewheres within that circle. Kind of the same idea pulling this Benchmade SOCP folder out of your pocket. As you go to grip and rip, that's a little bit more of traction, I guess, than just sliding over a typical pocket clip. So kind of nice having the option there. I know my buddy's been using this, I think the majority, if not the whole time that he's had this knife. Just looking at the detail on the handle scales, these are incredibly well designed as far as the grip, ergonomics, whatever you want to say, for being able to hold on to this knife in whatever circumstances you might get into. This is a tactical combatives type folder, so you're, not ideally, but in some situations, thinking that you might end up slippery and oily and full of some kind of a gooey substance that might require you to have better grip. So it doesn't have a lot of crazy jimping or big finger choils. One thing I don't understand on tactical knives why people don't like finger choils. Maybe there's some reason I don't understand. I know it has to do with the profiling of the knife and the design, which I'll get back to that in 1 second. There's a cool little trick with this, but maybe it's something to do with keeping it low profile and slick. But I wish any kind of knife that had defensive or tactical capabilities in mind had finger protection. Big no-no for me, but obviously the people designing this stuff have a lot more experience and a lot more qualifications to talk on this stuff, so there's definitely some reason, because it's not the only tactical knife without a finger choil. But yeah, very nice divots for your grip to kind of find wherever you're, whether you're doing like on a lower grip or choking up on this a little bit more, different positions for your hand sizes, depending on if you've got little baby hands or giant hands. You'd have no issue getting a huge mitt on this huge handle. The thumb studs on this, speaking of deployment options and all that, they're interesting. I thought it was going to be more like an Emerson Wave type feature at first because of those huge nubs on the thumb studs. I guess they're calling it a thumb wheel. So it just makes it super reliable for deployment. Again, similar to the Spyderco idea, being that you don't want to miss when you go to draw, so it's very grippy, so your thumb is going to catch that, as opposed to hopefully just sliding over it or missing it altogether, which on some smaller Benchmades has been an issue. Or at least for me when I was playing around with them. And of course, you can always deploy with the axis lock, which is pretty easy. I do find this knife a little more awkward than, say, my Benchmade Super Freak, which I've lost the studs on, but still can deploy quite easily with without the stud, just using the axis lock. But I've got a lot more real estate on the knife to grip and manipulate it. This is pretty skinny, and you do have to be a little more careful. It's a little more awkward, and you don't want to make, definitely don't want to have your hand in front of the blade when you're going to close that. If your hand happens to slip, because it's just so damn skinny. Oh, and the thing I was going to mention, this thing is also designed to kind of be MOLLE compatible in some sense. It's not going to be as deployable or as slick as having a fixed blade in your MOLLE. If your life depended on it, maybe not using a folding knife as your last ditch kind of survival tactical self-defense knife, that might be a good idea. If you try and pull this out and it gets stuck in the MOLLE, or you fumble the deployment, that's not the last thing you ever want to do. So fixed blades are the winning choice almost across the board in almost every situation, for that kind of thing anyways. But this was designed to kind of slip into a 1-inch molly. Now I've been playing around a little bit here, and it's not perfect. Let me see here. There's a little bit of molly for you. Hopefully this here, there we go. And you can see it's pretty tight. This is, yeah, pretty standard molly. The clip would obviously fit, but that's not sort of what we're looking for. You'd want to get this layered in through 2 or 3 levels so it's in there securely. But yeah, I tried on a couple different things. It does work. Obviously this molly is not fully locked in. This is a little bit wider, but you know, you could slip it through these and have it sort of there ready to go and then just pull it out. But see, not really my favorite thing to do because it's not really the smoothest thing to get in and out of there. But it is an option if you had the right setup on your tack vest or something, plate carrier, and you wanted to use that in that setting, I guess. Let's do some size comparisons. So let's see what this thing looks like. Right off the bat, as I said earlier, my brain went to the cold steel Luzon, the medium Luzon. The large is like, meh. Oh, yeah, there's a tip missing off that one. If you want to see how I did that, by the way, it was something stupid, feel free to check out the video where I played around just seeing what I could do with this knife. I'm sure I'll throw a thumbnail up here so you can get a reference point on what to look for. But I don't really use this thing too much, just figured, hey, let's beat it up a little bit. Straight up knife abuse, no excuses there. But anyways, there it is. Arrange them like so. How's that? Let's put the Super Freak out here as well, that big thick Benchmade. Haven't been carrying this thing too much because it is a little bit too thick for my legs in most pants. After carrying a lot of thinner knives anyways, I find it hard to go back to the Super Freak just because of that girth in the pocket. As you can see, the SOCP is quite a bit thinner, quite a bit slicker to carry, and definitely not quite as ergonomic in the hand, but trade-offs and all that. You can't get everything you want in the knife, but yeah, the Super Freak's definitely one of my absolute favorite folders. Another Benchmade. How about the rats? Like always, great size comparison. Model 1 and the rat Model 2. And then we'll do the Cold Steel Recon 1. Very worn in Recon 1 and the Paramilitary 2. Then I'll give you a couple of fixed blades, and let's see, why don't we pull out my Tor Anaconda, one of my favorites, pretty much always carried, probably my actual favorite knife, right up there with the SE Azula 2, of course. And why don't we pull out another Tor, not mine, but another knife you might want to check out in one of these upcoming videos that I also borrowed from my buddy here, and that is the Tor Viper, which you will see a quick little review of coming up very soon. But there you have it. 3 very tactical looking knives. Definitely not everyone's cup of tea, but if you're into that little hybrid EDC tactical stuff, these knives were designed with like overseas operations, desert and jungle environments and all that kind of stuff in mind. So they're built to last more than a lot of things. Still though, if you're looking for a more purpose-built EDC tool, like for a normal human being, this is probably more what you're looking at, but this stuff absolutely tickles my fancy, as well as the fellow I ended up on a crew with this year for fire, who happens to like all the same kind of knives that I do. So lucky me that I've got a bunch of extra stuff to review. I'll have all kinds of more stuff from him and other folks on the fire base next summer as well. So keep an eye out for, yeah, all kinds of random reviews, knife comparisons, and long-term hard use reviews coming up soon on some of the knives that I've been rocking quite consistently for the last 2 or 3 years. That's about it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. Feel free to check out the other reviews and stuff on this channel for all the knives you've pretty much seen on the table so far. Until then, catch you later. Hard On Gear Channel signing off.